Welcome to AI Assembled, the top AI news for small business. I'm Chris Doelle, and each week I bring you the most important AI developments that can transform your business. Let's dive into this week's top stories.
Washington is telling its allies they have to pick a side in the artificial intelligence race with China. A State Department framework called Pax Silica is now being presented to dozens of U.S. partners, pressing them to join American-led joint projects on semiconductors and the chips that power frontier AI, or risk finding themselves on the outside of the U.S. technology ecosystem. A leaked draft of the agreement makes the choice explicit. Countries that participate in the American AI Partnership are expected to align with U.S. export controls aimed at keeping advanced chips and chip-making equipment out of Chinese hands, and to steer clear of a rival China-led initiative. For small and mid-sized businesses, this is not abstract geopolitics. If your supply chain, your cloud providers, or your customers touch Asia, the chip war is about to get more rigid. Expect tighter controls on where advanced computing can be sold, more compliance questions from vendors, and potentially diverging technology stacks between the American and Chinese spheres. Businesses that source hardware, sell internationally, or rely on global cloud regions should start asking their providers a simple question now. Which side of this line are your services built on? Now to the Vatican, where the leader of the Catholic Church just told lawmakers exactly where he thinks AI guardrails should go. On August 21st, Pope Leo XIV addressed the 17th annual meeting of the International Catholic Legislators Network, a gathering of Catholic lawmakers from around the world, on the theme of human dignity and artificial intelligence. His message was direct. AI must never be allowed to erode the family, whether by reducing people and relationships to data and simulations, by flooding young minds with content that distorts desire, or through economic models that make family life precarious. He told the legislators their job is not to hinder innovation, but to guide it wisely, and he laid out what sound legislation should do. Protect users from exploitation, preserve personal privacy, ensure transparency in how emerging technologies are used, and guarantee that they strengthen democratic institutions. This follows his first encyclical earlier this year, which called for AI to be, in his words, disarmed and to serve human dignity and the common good. Why should a business owner care what the Pope says about AI? Because moral framing from institutions with global reach has a way of becoming regulatory framing. The principles he named, transparency, privacy, protection from exploitation, are the same pillars appearing in the EU AI Act and in state-level bills across America. When you build or buy AI tools, these are the criteria your future regulators and your customers will be judging them by.
AI literacy is officially becoming homework. State lawmakers across America are moving fast to put artificial intelligence into the high school curriculum. During this year's legislative session, 77 bills across 27 states have been introduced addressing AI in classroom instruction, and 10 have already been signed into law. Alabama now requires every student to complete an approved computer science course that includes AI instruction in order to graduate. Idaho has directed its education department to build a comprehensive generative AI framework covering privacy, transparency, academic integrity, and literacy standards. Maryland's Artificial Intelligence Ready Schools Act requires every district to adopt AI policies and designate an AI coordinator. And Utah is establishing a required digital skills course for 7th and 8th graders covering AI literacy alongside cybersecurity and digital privacy. The driver behind much of this? AI literacy will be assessed for the first time on the 2029 PISA exam, the global test comparing 15-year-olds across countries. For small businesses, this matters in two ways. First, the entry-level employees you hire 3 to 5 years from now will arrive AI literate by law, not by chance, and that changes what you can expect from them on day one. Second, if you sell products or services to schools, AI curriculum requirements are creating a brand new buying category overnight. Next, the technology plumbing that is quietly making agentic AI real. Agentic AI means AI systems that do not just answer questions, but take actions on your behalf, reading your data, updating your systems, completing tasks. The breakout standard making that possible is called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. Think of it as the USB-C of AI, a universal connector that lets AI agents plug into your existing tools and data sources without expensive custom integration work. Adoption has been staggering, with MCP's software development kits hitting 97 million downloads per month this spring, up from roughly 2 million at launch less than 2 years earlier. And it is now suddenly on executive agendas everywhere. But there is a catch. Security researchers warn that MCP connectors can be over-permissioned. Untrusted connectors can leak data or enable attacks, and governance is lagging far behind adoption. Fewer than 4% of security conference submissions about MCP focus on opportunity. The rest focus on risk. And a personal note here from our host. He is putting this exact idea into practice, building a company knowledge base that multiple AI systems can access and understand, one shared, structured source of truth that any AI assistant can plug into, rather than knowledge trapped in scattered documents. That is precisely the architecture this new standard enables. The takeaway for small businesses: the era of AI that can actually do things inside your company has arrived, and the winners will be the ones who get their knowledge organized and their permissions governed before they plug agents in.
New data confirms a hard truth about AI adoption. Most pilots fail, and the way you start largely determines whether yours does. Research now circulating among chief financial officers finds that roughly 95% of enterprise generative AI pilots deliver no measurable return. And separate analysis has long put the failure rate for AI projects overall above 80%, about twice the failure rate of traditional IT projects. The pattern is remarkably consistent. Pilots launched without structure, without a defined problem, without integration into real workflows, and without an owner who is accountable for results, are the ones that die. The research points to flawed enterprise integration, not model quality, as the core issue. Generic tools impress individuals, but stall inside organizations because they do not learn from or adapt to actual workflows. What works? Buying specialized tools and partnering with vendors succeeds about 67% of the time, while building your own internally succeeds only about a third as often. And the biggest return on investment is not where most budgets go. More than half of generative AI budgets flow to sales and marketing tools, yet the strongest returns are showing up in back-office automation, eliminating outsourced processes, cutting agency costs, and streamlining operations. For a small business, the lesson is blunt. Pick one pain point, buy rather than build, put a line manager in charge, and measure the result. The 80% who fail are overwhelmingly the ones who started with a vague ambition instead of a structured plan. Finally, the staggering price tag of the AI arms race. This week brought two massive infrastructure deals that underscore just how expensive powering frontier AI has become. Google signed an agreement with chipmaker Marvell Technology to co-develop custom AI chips, a deal that extends to 2033 and grants Google a warrant to buy up to $12.2 billion of Marvell stock, nearly 59 million shares, with the tie-up potentially generating up to $120 billion in custom chip sales. Days earlier, NVIDIA agreed to guarantee up to $105 billion in financing to help OpenAI lease a sprawling data center being built in Ohio, while also investing $1.5 billion directly in SB Energy, the SoftBank-linked developer behind the project. That is one company, NVIDIA, effectively underwriting its own largest customer. Two things for small businesses to take from this. First, compute costs are not coming down anytime soon. When the biggest players on Earth are locking in chip supply and data center capacity a decade out, they're telling you demand will keep outpacing supply. So budget accordingly and watch your AI subscription pricing. Second, circular deals like NVIDIA financing OpenAI's infrastructure have some investors nervous about an AI bubble, which means volatility in AI vendor pricing and even vendor survival is a real risk. Diversify the AI tools your business depends on and make sure your data is portable if one of them stumbles. And that is the Week in AI, assembled for your business. I'm James, for all of us here. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.
That's it for this week's AI Assembled, the top AI news for small business. If you found this valuable, share it with a fellow business owner. And if you want to know whether AI tools can find and recommend your business, get your free AI website optimization report at freshmediaworks.com/AI ready. Until next week, keep innovating and keep it real.